Coming to you live from a little grass shack in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, it's the Junior Kekuewa Jr. Show, starring Junior Kekuewa Jr.
Why me? That's my question.
Join Junior along with the Wayne Borje Band as he makes any kind from Hawaii.
Let's do it already.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Junior Kekuewa Jr.
How you Hawaiians? Hawaiians. We've got. Okay, wait. All right. Same thing every damn. Oh, hi. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Junior Kekuewa Jr. And on this is a Law of Attraction comedy podcast. On the podcast today, we are going to be talking about anxiety. Okay, because I get rid of anxiety in people like all the time. I can't even tell you, because it's an epidemic. Okay, epidemic proportions. Okay, and first we want to do the attitude of gratitude. Okay, so we're not going to go over stats and all kinds of crazy stuff today, but we will tell you that we have new countries and we have new people listening. So we want to thank you. Thank you very much for joining the podcast, and share it with your friends. Because, if you share this with a friend that has anxiety, I guarantee you, okay, look at the fingers and thumbs on your hand. Okay, the majority of them, okay, represents the number of friends that you have that have anxiety. Okay, and I'm not making fun of it. I'm not making light of it. We're going to give you solutions today. In fact, I'm going to tell you about one solution that you probably don't think of. It's your voice. Okay, but first, let's get to anxiety and what it is. Okay, so anxiety, right? Now, I'm going to give you the what they say, what the scientists say, okay? The brainiologists, okay? Oh, neurologists. Okay, brainiology. It's a word I just made up. So it's a natural survival response to perceived danger. Okay, so if you have anxiety, you're either living in fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, now, and I'm not making fun of people with anxiety, but sometimes you freeze up. I'm just saying. Okay, but what does this actually represent? Well, part of the freeze thing is that you get paralyzed. Okay, because it's the root of anxiety is fear. Okay, now I'm going to mix this. I know, so there's the scientific guys that listen to me and they go, oh, dude, you just gave us part of the science and now you're going off on this spiritual thing. Well, guess what? God is real. Okay, God is real, Hawaiians. All right, let's have that as the root. Okay, that God is because scientists don't do that. They don't come from, okay, there's God and then everything else. Right? Okay. They come from everything else. And then, there's the possibility of God. Okay. So I'm going to do things in reverse, but give you the science and so I'm going to kind of mix things here and there. All right. And I'm not mixing it to cloud your brain. I'm not mixing it to confuse you. I'm mixing it because some of you are scientific and some of you believe in God. Okay. So, and hopefully most of you believe in God, or at least acknowledge that there's an energy higher than you. And you are an extension of that energy. You are a part of that energy that is all that is. Okay, I know. I know it gets a little out there. All right, so now what is anxiety? So it's when you're in survival mode. Okay, you have anxiety. Okay, now it's people think of survival. So what we're really talking about is the sympathetic nervous system. But when people talk about anxiety, they just think about, oh, well, he can't sit still. Oh, well, she can't concentrate or whatever. Okay, no, if you can't concentrate, that's what I have. Okay, that's ADHD. And I've been through so much discrimination. People are getting discriminated against because of their anxiety. Okay. And I've been through so much discrimination, ADHD. One day we're going to have to do a podcast about ADHD. I did a little bit about, my life and how how weird it's been, and these turns and ups and it just peaks and valleys and whatever. Okay, but because it's the H part, right, the hyper part. But with anxiety, it's a little bit different. With anxiety, it's not that people cannot concentrate. Okay, it's fear at the very root level. Okay, so when does this become a problem? Well, it becomes a problem when everyday situations feel like something bad's going to happen, like it's threatening, like oh man, I wonder what's going to happen today, like in a fearful sense. Right? Now that's anxiety. Now, if you're living like that, prolonged anxiety turns into depression. It can. Okay, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a medical professional. But guess what? I teach medical professionals, not about anxiety. They know all that stuff. Okay, I teach them how to get rid of their anxiety. Guess what? Ta-da! They have it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I know. No, I'm not. Making fun of doctors at all. Okay. But there's an organization that I serve that we are contracted to, that I work with people with anxiety. Now, it's kind of let's say when I work with the doctors, okay, so I teach them public speaking. That's one thing. But then the exercises that I use for the voice, okay, treats them for the anxiety. And there was this psychiatrist. I got to tell you about this guy. There was this psychiatrist. Now, he's no longer my client, so I can tell you. Okay, but there's this psychiatrist, and I thought it was very interesting. Now, people go into yoga and, these things, and some of them I will call fad things only because, like, it's the popular thing. Oh, let's go buy a yoga mat. Let's all go to yoga, right? And they go to yoga. Okay, they're not going to yoga because of the spiritual essence of yoga. Okay, they're going because their neighbor is going, oh, Sally, let's go to yoga. This is really great. Like that. And then they go to yoga, right? And they're doing the yogic thing. But they're not really going deep, okay? But there are people that are serious and go deep, right? And those people, they go on retreats. They go, to serious retreats, like to India. Like they go on, that kind of junkets and whatever, as it were. Okay, trips. Let's be kind, trips. Okay, and they go to like India and they sit with gurus. Okay, I follow one on YouTube. Okay, for years and years and years I follow this guy. Okay, but here's the deal, right? When you're doing it as a fad, you have no inner understanding, or what I call inner standing. Okay, there's understanding and there's inner standing. Now, they have no inner standing. Why? Well, because they're just doing it, because everybody else is doing, because it's a thing. Oh, we're going on a retreat. Oh, what are we doing? Well, we're going to have a full program. One of these things is yoga. Okay, like that. Okay. Now, here's what happened to the doctor. The good doctor. Okay. And so he comes to me, right? I don't even know where to start with this thing, but it starts kind of serious. Now, in my first session with him, okay, he breaks down in tears. Okay, now we're talking about vocal exercises, and we're not talking about do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do in that sense. We're talking about projected straight tones done with velocity, like you do it strong. Okay, now I don't want to do it because I don't want to blast your ears out. Okay, but if you go on my TikTok, because people follow me on TikTok, right? It's pinned to the wall. It's the very first video on my TikTok. Okay, and I have I don't know 151,000 people on my account. It's a community. I built a community for people so they can go to this my page, right, my account, and they can get help. Okay, with a variety of things. And all they need to do is just surf my account. It's not all about me. There's tons of videos of me, but and there's tons of talks and lives and stuff that I've done. But there are, there's Bruce Lipton. Okay, so he's there. There's Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's there. There's all Esther Hicks. She's there. There's all kinds of people there. Okay, there's religious people there. There's spiritual people there. There's all kinds of people that will help you with your problems. Okay, so you can have insight. I do recommend that you get diagnosed by a medical doctor. Okay, but after you're diagnosed and you know what's wrong and whatever, go do your research. Okay, help yourself. Self-help. Okay, that it's very important, very, very important. Okay, because you evolve as a human being. Now the doctor comes to me, right, in the very first session, and he breaks down in tears. He we have to stop, and so we stop. Right now, I don't know how he saw it. okay? But I know what it is, okay? It's his nervous system, and all this stuff is built up in his nervous system. And what the voice does is it helps to cleanse, or let's say get rid of, or let's say purge the nervous system. Okay, because you carry all your stress with you. You carry all your anxiety with you. Okay, and then these things also form neuroplasticity. Okay, so neuroplasticity, right? So it forms these emotional reactions that you have to stress, to anxiety, to all of this. Okay, now everything works together in the human body. Okay, then it goes into your subconscious. Then your subconscious, right, remembers, and it goes, oh, we need to get back there again. Okay, here's another thing to get there, because it creates avenues back to whatever it is that that you're repeating. Okay, and it gets very repetitive, and people get stuck. Okay, so they come to me to get unstuck, basically. Okay, some of them come to me. So we have two companies that do this. Okay, we have this company that you're listening, that the podcast is about, Here For You Life Coaching. And there's another company. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to confuse everybody. But both of these companies get only 5-star reviews. Only. Okay, and check it out. Go to Here For You Life Coaching on Google. Look at our Google page. Only 5-star reviews. Okay, now here's the reason why is because it works in every human being. So the doctor does his thing, he breaks down, we have to wait. Okay, and because that's what I do, right? And I allow them to, and I say, go ahead, just let it all out, okay? Now, my predominant demographic is female, okay? And they range in all kinds of ages. Like I don't even have a normal, or let's say, majority of my women are in their 40s or 30s or 20s or whatever. No, it's it's all spread out. But what I'm telling you is the reason why I'm telling you this is because the majority of, the people that come to me are women, and the minority are men, because men don't ask for directions, right? Myself included. I'm like, well, I'll just drive around till I find this damn thing. I mean, that kind of thing, right? I told you it was going to get comedy, Hawaiians. Okay, there you go. All right, so anyway, so the doctor comes and that happens, right? That was the first session. We get to the first session. Second session, he breaks down again. Okay, so this tells me that the doctor has a lot of unresolved issues. Okay, unresolved items in his nervous system, because your nervous system carries it around, okay? And that's trauma, that's anything. Stress, do you have a, stressed out kind of job where you high stress, kind of, responsible for a lot of things, a lot of people? So I get all those professionals, okay? So, and that's what I deal with. That's the majority of my clients. So now, currently I have 5 doctors. Okay, 5 of them, 2 PhDs and 3 medical doctors. And so anyway, and so this is a psychiatrist that's, like I said, he's not my client anymore, but he's a brain guy. So I'm like, wow, this is great, because he'll be able to like share with me, okay? Because I've taught psychologists before, and they share with me, and so this helps me, gives me insight, and go, oh, okay, maybe I can target the scientific side, or maybe I can explore this side or that side or whatever. And they help me along like that because they give me insight. Okay, now I don't need college. I don't need to be educated. Okay, because there's a plus side to that, and there's a limiting side to that. Okay, but anyway, so with this doctor, right? So I thought, whoa, I'm going to learn from this guy. So excuse me. So we do the next session. Okay, breakdown again. The next session, breakdown again. Okay, finally the 4th session, no breakdown. What does this tell me? Well, it tells me that his nervous system is regulated now. Okay, and it took 4 weeks to regulate his nervous system. Okay, so at this point, I'm like, wow, this doctor, like I'm going to have, something from this guy. He's going to share with me. He's going to tell me how the brain works and how this neurologically makes sense, or how, whatever, things that I didn't want to take time to study in college. Okay. Cause I wasn't interested. Right. But anyway, so I thought, wow, this is going to be great, cause now I've totally like changed his world and, whatever. Right. Okay. I asked him, I said, Doc, are you feeling it? Because what I do, and this is very difficult for me, and I'm still trying to figure out how to market this effectively. Okay. Because if more people knew what this was, if more people did this, okay, because you got to do it. You got to experience it to go, oh, it does this. Wow. Okay. You got to do that. If you don't, right, it doesn't really click. It doesn't make sense. There's no way that I can give you an accurate description even. And that's the God part, okay? Because God is inside of you. God is within you. God is that energy within you. Part of it, okay? Part of it. But the kingdom is within. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. And he wasn't kidding. He was not kidding, okay? So the kingdom is within. Now, inside the kingdom, okay, so there's a separation between the spiritual and physical. Inside the kingdom, you can have, let's say, a positive experience, and you can have a negative experience. Okay, so you can have the absence of the God energy, which is very spooky. Okay, which you might even call it demonic, or you could have a positive experience, which is the God particle, the God part of you, the God essence of you, the energy that you were born with, the unobstructed positive energy you were born with, right? Because there's no angry babies, okay? That, okay? And I know it's kind of difficult to follow, Uncle, okay? But follow along. Here we go, okay? Excuse me. So anyway, I get to this part with the doctor, and he apparently was a little shook up, I want to say, okay, because I think apparently he had gone on these yoga trips and all of that, right? And he was feeling something he didn't understand, okay? And they don't teach this in college. They don't teach it in medical school. They don't teach the psychiatrist this. They come up with, it's, the hypothalamus reacts this way with the central nervous, whatever, okay? No, it's not that. Okay, because yes, that is an explanation. That is scientific. We do work like that. Okay, but beneath the mechanics, there is a spirit. You are a spirit. Okay, God is a spirit, and God is in you. Okay, that spirit that is within you is of God. So anyway, he gets, I think at that point, he's like, whoa, what is this? Right? And I'm trying to explain it in scientific terms to him. I'm trying to be more scientific so that he can wrap his mind around it. But because he's been subject to, let's say, the spiritual community, he can't wrap his mind around. So I said, Doc, how do you, do you feel it? And he goes, yeah, I feel it, but I can't put my finger on it. And I never saw him again. Never. I tried to reach out. Hey, Doc, come back. You did good. You regulated your nervous system, blah, 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 yada, yada. Nothing. He ghosted me. He ghosted me because he couldn't understand what was happening. He couldn't put his finger on what was going on. Now, think about it. If you're a guy that, has been through all the training and you know the brain and you prescribe medicine for other people for this, that, and the other thing, and all of a sudden you can't figure out what's happening to you, right? And you go through this experience and it just totally freaked him out. Anyway. Okay, so that's the story of the psychiatrist. Okay, so this is something that, yes, we can quantify and say that, oh, your voice does this, that, and the other thing. Oh, your voice is energy. Oh, your voice is part of your spirit. It is, because it comes from within. It is your communication tool from within, right? So, and this is all kind of, it is convoluted and it is mixed and it is combined. Okay, but human beings are more complex than just say, well, this is ABC, XYZ, and that's it. Human beings are not like that. I'm sorry, it's just not. Okay, but let's get more into anxiety now. Okay, now that you know that the voice can get rid of it. All right, so because I've done it over and over and over and over. Okay, one of my doctors that is going to have her last session on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. She's a PhD. She's an educator. Okay, and I pulled her out of this pattern. Now, what is the pattern that you get pulled out of? Let's say you have anxiety. Okay, you have anxiety, but you need to get pulled out of it. How do you get pulled out? How does your voice pull you out? Well, it separates or interrupts. The scientific way of explaining it is it interrupts, okay, these neural pathways that have been formed, okay, into the reaction of your anxiety, okay, the fear that you experience, the reaction that you have from this fear because you keep feeling it over and over the same way. You keep reacting the same way. And your subconscious goes, oh, that's what we do? And it keeps repeating. Okay. So if that's you, okay, and things seem threatening, right? You can actually keep your nervous system in a constant state of alertness. Okay. And that's you burn out that way. Not only do you burn out that way, you live in fear. Okay. And fear is the devil. Okay, for you Christians, for you, religious people, okay, for you people that, go angel devil, okay? So fear is the devil. Love is the angel, okay? So what are the causes of anxiety? Well, stress, right? We mentioned that. Trauma, okay? Negative thinking, excessive worry. Are you worried about stuff? Like, do you constantly worry? Okay, I have things that concern me. I really do. And I deal with them when they happen. Do I worry about things? I get pulled into worry. Okay, worry is a thing, right? But when I start worrying, guess what I hear in the very back of my head? Because I'm a Christian, in the back of my head, I hear, "O ye of little faith," like all the time. And that's my reminder. That's my intuitive thought reminder that happens. Oh, ye of little faith. That's all I hear. That's all I hear in my head. And guess what? When it actually comes down to dealing with whatever it is that I'm concerned about or start to worry about, right? That's my cue to stop. So like I tell you guys about, your thought loops, your negative thought loops. Okay, if you've been following the podcast, so you know that you can just say stop and then refocus, stop and refocus. And then you start, stopping the negative thoughts, right? So for me, I started out with stop, and then I guess I did no for a while, whatever. Now it's kind of like, oh, ye of little faith, right? Because you're worried. Now, if you're, let's say religious, let's say you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever you are, right? Let's say you're religious, then you're not supposed to worry anyway, okay? Because God is real. And if you really believe in God, then worry is not of God. It's of the other side, the devil, the evil, whatever, okay? All of that stuff. All right, so now chronic stress is something that we experience at work. Okay, work gives us chronic stress. Okay, marriage can give you chronic stress. Okay, I can't tell you how many husbands complain to me all the time. Oh, my wife this, my wife that, But I'm like, hey, well, you signed up, right? So anyway, but, the happiest guys I know are the single guys. They're divorced now. Most of them are divorced now, but they're happy. Okay, they're happy. Why? Because, well, there's no emotional drain on them. Okay, and a lot of chronic stress comes from emotional drain. Okay, trauma, negative thinking, overactive fight or flight. So if you're always living in survival mode, the overactive fight or flight response is a thing. Okay, now if you don't have, let's say, good sleeping habits, okay, like I have a terrible time with sleep because I have ADHD. The H in ADHD is hyper. Okay, so sleep is a deal for me. It's like I gotta try to do it, and sometimes I'm not successful. So, also genetics plays a role in this, okay? Because if you can be this can be hereditary. You can inherit this, okay? You can inherit anxiety. Let's say your mom has anxiety, your dad has anxiety. The odds of you developing anxiety are high, okay? Now, and a lot of times, like all of these things kind of like get mixed up. Little bit of this, little bit of trauma, little bit of stress. Who does not have trauma, right? So I have tons of trauma, okay? You're not alone, Hawaiians, okay? You're not alone. I got tons of trauma, tons of stress, tons of all of this stuff, okay? Now, I don't have stress now. I don't have high stress. I don't have a high stressful life now. I used to, yeah. And you know what the biggest stress was? The biggest stress was, how do I climb the ladder? Got to climb this ladder. Got to, do this, do that, do that. And then every time I achieved something, I was like, hey, there's no feeling of achievement here. Like, what's up with that? There's just another check. There's just another deposit in the bank. There's just another job. There's just, and so I grew out of that, well, we have to feel accomplished. I got out of that. That was like, okay, whatever, but for some people, it's a thing. Okay, and if you don't believe me, go on LinkedIn and watch them flex. Okay, watch them flex all their, college degrees and whatever. Okay, their Masonic degrees. Okay, go watch them flex that. But anyway, so the ladder of success is, imaginary, but anxiety is not. Anxiety is a real thing. Okay, so what do they refer to as anxiety-related conditions? Well, there's panic disorder. I had this guy in the UK, okay, and he was my client in the UK, and one day I get the WhatsApp text, and he is having an episode, and I stayed with him on the phone for 40 minutes in the UK, okay, 40 minutes, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, or something, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that, okay, no charge. I didn't charge him. I stayed on the phone with him. And in about 45 minutes, the paramedics arrived. It took them that long, I guess, because of the location where he's at. And then they took over, and he got medication, and he was fine. What's the ending of that story? Well, the ending of that story and that client interaction of mine was that I got him off medicine. And his review is on Here For You Life Coaching on our Google page. So anyway, but yeah, so he got off meds. Do I get people off medications? Oh yeah, all the time. Now, I don't make any medical claims. I cannot, okay, because I'll get sued. The AMA will come after me, and they'll paint me up as, oh, this dude sells snake oil. So this is not snake oil. This is you. This is your voice. This is a part of God, okay? I know that's that's like, oh dude, that's the ultimate sales pitch. No, this is real. This is a real thing, but you have to feel it. Okay. Now, social anxiety is a thing amongst young people right now. Okay. And partially due to the phones, partially due to the tablets, partially due to the laptops, all of that. Okay. Because it's fun in there. Okay, I have over 56,000 people on Facebook. I have 151,000 people on TikTok. I'm not here to flex. I'm just saying that I have built these communities for people. Okay, my Facebook is not all about me. Although I have to maintain it, I have to run it. My primary function on my Facebook account is to move the page. Okay. And to provide content for my consumers, for the people that are consuming the content. Okay. Anyway, but getting back to social anxiety, right? People, the young kids can't look people in the eye. Okay. I go to a car dealership, okay, where the girl is actually like holding her wrist below the table. She's holding herself back. She's restraining herself. Okay. Because of her anxiety. Okay. It's the funny, not funny, right? It's funny, not funny. But she sells me cars. Okay. So I cannot reach out to her and go, I can really help you with that. I can get rid of that for you, right? Because that's embarrassing, right? And that's to me, it's inappropriate. So I don't mention it. It's up to her. And maybe one day she's surfing online and she sees one of my lectures and she'll go, "Oh, I didn't know you do that," that kind of thing. Then I'll help her. Okay, but it's not something you can, it's like, so being a life coach is kind of weird in a way, because I'm part life coach, part healer. Okay, but it's kind of weird in a way because, like, if I told you, well, recommend me to your friends, right? If you go to your friend and you go, you know what? Junior's a life coach. You need Junior. He's a life coach. He could really help you. Now, what are you telling them, right? You're sub-communicating to them that something's wrong with them. Okay. So it's very difficult. It's kind of like people have to find me and reach out. Okay, so if you're listening to the podcast and you know somebody or whatever, it's a family member, I get a lot of that. I get a lot of people that listen to the podcast that go, "Hey, can you help my son? Hey, can you help my daughter? Hey, can you help me?" or whatever, right? But you got to reach out, okay? It's awkward for, someone like me to just walk up to somebody and go, "Hey, you know what? I can help you with that. I can see you suffering from it. Like it's a thing and I could get rid of it for you, but I can't do that." So anyway, but that's, social anxiety is a huge thing. PTSD, I have it. Okay. I have PTSD. Okay. I'm not going to get into the details. We're going to do another that's not a podcast, Hawaiians. Okay. I'm going to do another podcast about that. Okay. But when I was young, I was tortured. Okay, not from anybody in my house or anything. It was a babysitter. Okay, but yeah, I know. Like what Hawaiian? What? Yeah. Okay, but that's not a podcast, Hawaiians. Okay, but I have PTSD, and that happens from abuse, from physical abuse, from bullying. Okay, the little kids that get bullied from other kids, right? Okay, they can develop PTSD. Okay, and I've gotten rid of it in tons of teenagers, like tons. Okay, why is that? Well, because at one of my companies, right, one of my businesses, parents bring their kids to me right around 13 because they want to keep them out of trouble. So right around 13, they show up. So the 12 and 13-year-olds, like all the time, boom, 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 boom. How old is it? 12? Oh, okay, I get it. So they don't even have to tell me anything, right? Because they're not bringing me, this is not, I'm not talking about the life coaching business. I'm talking about another business, okay, where I do other things. Okay, but the process is the same. Okay, it's vagus nerve stimulation. It's oxytocin and endorphins. Okay, it's nervous system regulation. Right. So, but I do it in another, and somebody told me the other day, the other week actually, he goes, "Wow, you're the only guy that teaches this in nervous system regulation." I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, but that's what the parents bring the kids because they're 12, they're 13. They're, "Oh, okay, go do this with Uncle," that kind of thing, right? And guess what? They get more sociable. Okay, so their social anxiety goes away. Right? They become more sociable. They join groups. Their grades get better. And their parents are ecstatic. They're like, "Whoa, if we knew that, whatever." Okay, now you would think that those parents would like brag about me to their friends and tell all the, kids that have problems with anxiety, tell their parents, right? "Oh, you got to take them." No, I become their best kept secret. Okay, their best kept secret. Okay, because it's part peer thingy. Too, like if your kid's doing really, really good, you don't want the other kids to do as good, right? Or better, right? So there's that. Okay. But that's human nature. That's human. So I get, I get put off in this corner and whatever. And nobody like, let's say Tony Robbins or somebody shines the light on me and go, "Hey, he's doing this stuff in Hawaii that changes people's lives." Okay. Basically, because we say that you're healed if you no longer suffer from anxiety. You're going to get anxiety once in a while. Fear is there for a reason. If you're suffering from anxiety, that means you have anxiety all the time. That means when you wake up, oh, boom, it hits you. That means when you go outside, boom, it hits you. That means when you get in a crowd of people, boom, it hits you. Okay? So, all kinds of stuff. So, and then there's also like OCD. Do you know anybody? I had girlfriends that had OCD. a few, okay? But these are intrusive thoughts and repetitive behaviors, okay, that are intended to reduce distress, okay? OCD, because you have to, you're distressed inside, right? Now you're trying to, reduce that distress. What do? Oh, you do this, do that, do this, do that. I don't know, just take stuff out of the carpet. Well, that's more a drug habit kind of thing, but it was a joke that I did in my comedy routine when I did comedy once upon a time. But these are real things. These are real issues that real people face. So if you're suffering from OCD, okay, it's a form of anxiety. Okay, if you're suffering from PTSD, okay, anxiety is involved. Okay, I have this one girl. She's amazing. She's amazing, and she's a military wife, and boy, she's so completely different. When I met her, she was like, and you can tell these anxiety people, okay, and like I said, if you have anxiety, okay, I'm not making fun of you, okay, but they're wound up way too tight, and you can see it. It's almost like I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what visual to give you to talk about, but you can tell the energy. So I had this one lady, right? She's in her 70s, and she came in, and she was just toxic. Her energy, her attitude, she was trying to be nice. She was smiling here and there, smile, smile, and then goes away. Smile, goes away. That kind of thing. because she's trying. Okay, she's attempting. She's trying to be nice. She's trying to be cheerful. She's trying. Okay, but inside, it's a different story how she's feeling. Okay, but I can read this stuff. It's very easy to read. Scene one, you've seen them all. Turn them upside down. They all look the same. I mean, really, seriously. Okay, that's a small kind comedy. I know a couple of uncles just just kind of cracked up at that. But it's true. Okay, once you've studied anxiety in people for a while, you can pick them out of a crowd. You can just, or maybe it's just my natural gift. I don't know. But I can spot these people. Okay, so here's the thing, right? When you start to open people up, this is what this does. It opens people up. Yesterday, I had this girl. She did her 3rd session with me. And it's a beautiful girl, okay? And I can tell she suffers from anxiety. So I asked her, I said, do you have anxiety? And she goes, yeah, I do. And, and she was kind of embarrassed, when I asked her. And I said, this is going to get rid of your anxiety. No worries. I promise. And she looked at me kind of like, oh, okay. But I can't wait for like a few more sessions, because in a few more sessions, she's going to be healed. Okay, well, not healed, remedied. It'll be remedied. How long does it take to like get over it, like to just like detach from this thing? About 12 weeks. 12 weeks. She's only on her 3rd week. Okay, so she's got a ways to go if she hangs in. The thing about the 12 weeks, right? Excuse me. The thing about the 12 weeks is that some people, right, they're thinking money. Okay, it's really funny because if you're suffering from anxiety, like you would give anything to get over it, okay? But then when you go month to month, excuse me, when you go month to month, right? It's like, oh man, I don't know if I want to spend the money. I feel good already. It's like it's the 2nd month and I feel good, and and then they stop, right? Well, it's 12 weeks for a reason. I'm not going to get real detailed into that because that'll take us way off to the left. But I will tell you that when you stop short because you feel good, it's like a diet, right? You go on a diet, you lose 10, 15 pounds. You go, wow, I feel great. I can start eating again, right? And you go back to the candy or sweets or whatever it is, starches, whatever, right? And then guess what happens? You lose progress, you gain the weight back, yada, yada, whatever. Same thing happens with anxiety, okay? If you don't do the minimum 12 weeks. Now, that being said, I have people with me for like long time. One of my doctors is into his second 12-week period. Okay. But that's not the point. The point is quitting too soon before the 12 weeks. Okay, so if you're gonna come to see me, be prepared to do 12 weeks. Okay, and I'll get rid of it. I swear on my grandfather's grave, I will get rid of it through your voice. Okay. Anyway, so now, what else can you do to, let's say, regulate your nervous system and all of that? Well, if you look it up, you'll get these what I call minor things that you can do, because when you're producing tone through your voice, okay, with the exercises that I give, your voice gets stronger. When it gets stronger, okay, your nervous system gets affected stronger. Your oxytocin and endorphins fire more. So as you get stronger, as your voice gets stronger, so we say find your voice, find yourself, right? When your voice gets stronger, it actually remedies more in a greater percentage, if you will. Okay. Now we can't quantify that percentage, but it happens. Okay. And I see this happen. Why? Because people calm, and you can see a human being calm, and I only see them during session. So when I see them the next week, I notice the difference. I see them the following week, I notice the difference. If I lived with them, I wouldn't be able to tell, because it's gradual. Okay, but it's significant enough week by week. So week by week they get stronger. Week by week they heal more. Week by week they produce more voice. Week by week they produce more endorphins, more oxytocin. Week by week the nervous system gets affected more or stronger, or the increase in intensity, okay, affects the nervous system, basically. So the nervous system becomes regulated. Okay, now what else can you do? Well, you can do slow breathing. Okay, so these are the minor things that, when you look it up, you go, okay, what is regulating the nervous system? Well, slow breathing, relaxation. I'm going to read it. I have a list over here, but this list is like the minor stuff, okay? Use grounding techniques to return attention to the present. Grounding. Okay. So you can ground by a myriad of ways. Okay. You can do tapping. Okay. Look it up. Tapping. It's a thing. You could do that. You could do yoga. You can meditate, exercise regularly. Okay. Prioritize, consistent restorative sleep. What does that mean? Well, they tell you got to sleep for 8 hours. Okay. I do biphasic sleep. Okay. Biphasic sleep is far more effective for the human being. What does that mean? Well, you sleep for, let's say, 4 hours here, then you get up, then you do stuff, and then you sleep 4 hours there, okay? And then, or whatever, or 5 hours here, 4 hours there, or whatever. But it's called biphasic sleep. Look it up. It's a thing. Okay, so there's all the question fearful thoughts. Okay, look, if you have anxiety and you're questioning fearful thoughts, guess where you're going to end up? You're going to end up with more fearful thoughts. Okay, and so what they really say is, like, you question fearful thoughts. Why? Well, so you can stop believing them. So you question them and then put it to rest. Oh, good luck with that if you have anxiety. Okay, so you guys that have anxiety, you guys feel me, right? Okay, it's difficult. Why? Because thoughts spawn into other thoughts, and pretty soon you're on this, this negative, what I call a downward negative spiral. Thought after thought after thought after thought, and each one is negative. Why? Because you think the first thought, then your amygdala kind of fans it out. Right? How does it do that? Well, it starts activating your fight or flight mode. What does that do? That gives you more negative thoughts. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And all the what ifs are rooted in fear. Then what happens? Well, let's say you cling to that one what if, the first one you got, okay? Now the amygdala goes, oh my God, and you start thinking about that. That spawns off into other thoughts, okay? And then other thoughts, and then other thoughts, and then other thoughts, okay? It's sort of like putting a mirror up to a mirror, and you can see all the way down, right? Into infinity. That's what it's like. Okay, so if you're tired of that, if you're, you're done, if you're done with that, okay, you know how people go, I am so done with this. Okay, if you're done with that, give me a call. Or actually go to the website. So it's Here For You Life Coaching. You can read more about this. HereForYouLifeCoaching.com, okay? And just sign up, and you get a free, consultation with me. So I do free consultations all the time. Okay. And, I get it. Yeah, people don't have money. I get it. And yes, you can go online and use your Google AI, use your AI, whatever you have, AI, your Chat GPT, your Perplexity, Claude, whatever you have. Okay. At our company, we use all of them. But, use whatever you have. Okay. Now, and go look, right? But you'll get the same thing. You'll get the same responses. You have to face your fear, rather than, avoiding them and then reinforcing them through avoidance. I'm like, what? Okay. All right. Try doing that when you have anxiety. Okay. I'm the guy that when you've tried everything, when you've tried all this nonsense that you read online, it's not all nonsense. If you're with a qualified, licensed therapist, there are therapies that will help you. Okay. They're expensive. They're way more expensive than I am because my goal is not to make therapists, doctor money. Okay. Although per hour, I make just as much as a psychologist per hour. Okay. It just doesn't take as long. Okay. So the journey is shorter with me than, let's say, with a psychologist. Okay. But I get paid just as much. Okay. But it's a shorter time. It's 12 weeks and then boom. Okay. Some people go to therapy for years, right? And what happens? Well, they keep going back. Why? Because it's a business. I'm not demonizing psychologists. One of my good friends is a psychologist. We talk shop all the time, and he goes, wow, I really admire what you're doing. And he sends people to me. Of course, he can't tell me, there's HIPAA laws, right? But he sends people. The one discussion we had years and years ago, I said, this really works and you should refer people to me. He goes, dude, I've been referring people to you for years. So I guess, word got around because so many people go to therapy, I got ex-girlfriends that go to therapy and complain about me till today. Still today. And that damn Junior. But anyway, true story. So, but yeah, and then of course seek professional support, right? Which is what I'm telling you to do right now. I'm just looking over this list. Okay, so yes, seek professional support first. That's the first thing you should do. Get diagnosed because you don't know. Okay, you don't know if it's depression or anxiety, do you? Okay, you just know something's wrong. You just know you feel fearful. You feel fearful. I can't even say that. Feel fearful. Okay. So it's a thing. I was clinically depressed once in my life because these doctors gave me some, I don't know, funny medicine. But when I got these guys drugged me when I was a kid. When I was 17, they drugged me. Okay, that's another podcast, Hawaiians. In fact, we did talk about that on one podcast called "I Was Drugged." I believe it's my second podcast or something. Go listen to that. Anyway, but when that happened, this doctor gave me, these medicines that kind of pushed me down into a depression. And so I felt what it was like to be clinically depressed. Man, you don't even want to get out of your sheets in the morning, in bed. You don't want to get out of your blanket. You just hide in the blanket, in the sheets, whatever, right? I remember my mom getting me out and forcing me to get out in the yard. And, they were working in the yard. And I was lying on this mat and I looked up at the clouds and the clouds started spinning and stuff. And I was like, whoa, I'll never forget that feeling. Okay. So I have empathy for people that have these problems, depression, anxiety, all of this, right? But I heal this stuff in people. So let me tell you about depression, okay? Real quick, because I gotta go pretty soon. But there was this girl, okay, and she experimented with ecstasy. I'm not gonna mention her name or whatever, but she experimented with ecstasy when she was 12 and 13. Okay, those crucial years, right? And so she was running around with these people, but because her mom had money. Okay, and they lived in this upscale neighborhood, she had disposable income. So drugs is experimenting on drugs is a very big thing with kids that have a lot of money. Okay, you just have to know that, right? Because they have disposable income and they get into problems. Not all of them. Okay, thank God, not all of them, but a lot of them. It happened to this girl, and she was the sweetest, most talented girl. And she could play music, like she could play guitar, ukulele, sing, she could do anything. So anyway, beautiful voice too, okay? And all of that. Her mom runs into me in a restaurant one day and goes, "Oh, Junior, can you help my daughter, please?" And she told me what was wrong. Now, she was on depression meds, and she had gone through, this drug thing, and she was getting well. She was recovering from it, right? And so I said, "Yeah, bring her." And in 9 months, okay, she stayed with me for 9 months. In 9 months, I get a text out of the blue one day in the afternoon. And it's this lady, okay, and her name was Pat. And she goes, "Junior, thank you so much. I'm so very happy that today Michelle got off her depression meds." And I was like, yeah, that's why I teach. That's why I do what I do. Okay, I got this guy right now, a current client that I'm working on getting his meds, reduced and hopefully taking him off. And I mean, because really, sometimes the biggest damage you get is when you've been on medicine for too long. I'm just saying, I'm not, demonizing the medical community or big pharma or, there's that. Anyway, hey, I gotta go, Hawaiians, but if you suffer from depression, I can help you, okay? All you got to do, go to the website, hereforyoulifecoaching.com. Hey, we want to thank the Voice Master family of service companies, Darren Chinen, AFM Hawaii Music. Till next time, I'm Junior saying mahalo and aloha.